Hi students, welcome to today's lecture on compiler design. So in our last class, we have discussed about what is a parser and what is the tasks performed by a parser, and also we have discussed about some basic concepts which are useful in designing parsers, like context-free grammars, derivations from context-free grammars, constructing derivation trees, parse trees, and identifying ambiguity in given grammars and eliminating ambiguity from the grammars. And also, we discussed about how to remove left recursion and how to convert a grammar into left factored grammar, which are very useful while designing the parsers at a later stage. And today, we focus on how many types of parsers are available, and we'll go through the classification one by one, and also we'll see the difference between these parsers. And finally, we will start designing uh, one initial parser, one brute force parser today. Okay, so that is our today's session going to be a today's session. The parser is actually classified into two categories. One is top-down parser, and second category is bottom-up parser. The difference between top-down parser and the bottom-up parser is very simple. You can easily identify. Before that, let us understand the task of a parser first. What is the job of parser? It takes a stream of tokens from the lexical analyzer and constructs an abstract syntax tree with the tokens and verifies its validity. If there are no syntax errors identified, then it forwards that abstract syntax tree or parse tree to the next phase of the compiler. Okay. So if the parser is able to build that abstract syntax tree properly without any problem, then there are no syntax errors. Okay. So to do that, to build that abstract syntax tree or parse tree, there are two ways. One is top-down approach and the other one is bottom-up approach. Any parser, if it uses top-down approach, it will be called as top-down parser. Any parser, if it uses bottom-up approach, it will be called as bottom-up parser. Okay. So now let us understand in top-down parsing approach, what happens is the construction of syntax tree begins from the start variable of the given grammar. So every language is represented by its grammar, right? So we start with that first variable of the grammar, that is start variable of the grammar. And then we keep on substitute for the variables. We call it as a derivation process. So by performing that derivation process, if the process ends up with all the terminals for which we are looking for, that means the string for which we are looking for, then top-down parsing is successful. So in top-down parsing, what happens is it takes the start variable of the grammar and it will try to produce the string, will try to produce the string which is under observation. The string is any statement of the programming language for which the syntax verification is being done. Okay, so the job of syntax analyzer is to verify the syntactical correctness of any statement, right? Therefore, this top-down parser tries to generate the corresponding statement. Terminals is nothing but the corresponding statement in the programming language. Let us say int a comma b is a statement. If it can produce int a comma b by starting with the start variable of the context-free grammar specified for C language, then it means int a comma b is a valid statement in the language. So in top-down parsing, please remember this point. We'll begin with a start variable and we'll generate the final string by repeated substitutions of productions for the variables. Okay, in top-down parsing, the derivation step used is leftmost derivation. This is the technique we use for generating the corresponding string from the grammar. So this is top-down parsing. And top-down parsing is again classified into two types. One is recursive descent parser. This is also called as brute force parser or the backtracking parser, or sometimes it is also called as recursive descent parser with backtracking. There are many names for this. Generally, it is called as backtracking parser. You can remember this name. In examination also, it will be asked with this name. So remember this backtracking parser. This is the name given for recursive descent parser. And the other classification is non-recursive descent parser, which is also called as LL of one parser, or predictive parser, or a recursive descent parser without backtracking, recursive descent parser without backtracking, or some people call it as a dynamic parser also. So you need to remember all these names for the types of top-down parsers. I'll repeat it again. There are two types of top-down parsers. One is a recursive descent parser with backtracking, or backtracking parser, or brute force parser, and the other one is non-recursive descent parser, or recursive descent parser without backtracking, or LL of one parser, or predictive parser, or dynamic parser. These many names are there. Okay. And in contrast with that top-down parser, bottom-up parser generates the parse tree or abstract syntax tree by starting from the input string. In top-down parsing, we start at the first variable of the grammar. Okay, we consider that start variable of the grammar, and we will try to generate the string from that first variable. But in bottom-up parser, we consider the input string, and then we will try to generate the first variable of the grammar. It is reverse to the top-down parser. So we start with the input string, given input string, and we will try to produce the first variable or start variable of the grammar. If you can produce that start variable of the grammar, it means the string belongs to the corresponding language. There are no syntax errors. If the process fails to obtain that start variable of the grammar, it means there is some syntax error. The corresponding error message will be generated. So in general, bottom-up parser performs this task. What is that? It starts with the input string and tries to produce the start variable of the grammar. Okay, and it uses reverse of the rightmost derivation. It is not even using rightmost derivation. It is reverse of rightmost derivation. Forget about this for now. We'll discuss about it later when we start the bottom-up parsers in third unit. Okay, right. Again, if you look at the classification of bottom-up parsers, it is again classified into two types. One is LR parser, and the other one is operator precedence parser, wherein these LR parsers are again classified into several other categories. Okay, there are four types of LR parsers, starting with the LR of 0 parser. Second one is simple LR of 1 parser. Third one is look ahead. LA stands for look ahead LR of 1 parser. And the fourth one is canonical LR of 1 parser. So these are the categories of LR parsers. This LR of 0 is the basic version of LR parsers. Improved versions, there are 3: SLR, LALR, and CLR. These 4 parsers will be covered in our third unit. We will design all these parsers. Don't worry about what does that L means, what does that R means, what does this 0 means in this statement. So don't worry about all these things now. We will design all these parsers in third unit. At that time, I will explain what exactly L stands for, what exactly R stands for, and what is meant by this 0. Okay, all these things. They are very easy. You will definitely understand all these parsers in third unit. Okay, so as of now, just try to remember these names, the 4 names. LR parsers are 4 types: LR of 0, SLR of 1, LALR of 1, CLR of 1. At least try to remember this. S stands for simple, LA stands for look ahead, C stands for canonical. And there is other category of bottom-up parser, which is a special one, operator precedence parser, which is applied for only operator precedence grammars, not applied for every kind of grammar. If it is an operator precedence grammar, that is operator grammars, then you can apply this operator precedence parser on it. That means operator precedence parsers can be designed only for a special type of grammars, which are called as operator grammars. Okay, so we cannot use this parser for every type of grammar. So the application area of this operator precedence parser is very less. Anyhow, we'll be discussing about this also in third unit. I will design the operator precedence parser also, right? Now, this is the summary of the classification of all the parsers. Parsers are classified into two types: top-down parser and bottom-up parser. Whereas top-down parsers are again classified into two types. One is a recursive descent parser and the other one is LL of 1. Please try to remember the other names for these two parsers. The other names for recursive descent parser is recursive descent parser with backtracking or backtracking parser. Okay, it is better to remember that backtracking parser here, or sometimes this is also called as brute force parser. Okay, and this LL of 1 parser has other names as well. Recursive descent parser without backtracking. Remember that name. Recursive descent parser without backtracking. And LL of 1 is also called as predictive parser. Predictive parser. Please remember that predictive parser name, because in examinations that name is used most of the times. Predictive parser. LL of 1 is also called as predictive parsers. Okay. And there are other names for this LL of 1, dynamic parser. LL of 1 is also called as dynamic parser. So try to remember the names, right? And bottom-up parser again classified into two types. One is LR parser and the other one is operator precedence parser, where LR parser is again classified into four types: LR of 0, SLR of 1, LALR of 1, CLR of 1. Okay, right. Okay, so we will start designing the first category of parser. What is that first category of parser? In top-down parsing, the first category of parser is a recursive descent parser with backtracking. And what is the other name for this? Backtracking parser. Okay, so let us begin the design of this backtracking parser. How it works? Let us understand how it works. The backtracking parser works like this. It's a top-down parser. So it begins with the start symbol of the corresponding grammar, and it ends up by producing the corresponding string, which you are testing whether it belongs to the corresponding language represented by the grammar or not. So that is what the general approach used in top-down parsing. So to understand this backtracking parser, let us take an example first. I am considering a grammar here. S implies RXD or RZD. X implies OA or EA. Z implies AI. All the small letters are treated as terminals, and all the capital letters are treated as variables. This part you already know it. Okay. Now, what is the start variable here among all this? S is the start variable. Whatever the production first written, that variable is considered as the start variable. So the start variable is S. So we need to produce any string from S only. And suppose I want to produce this string. The string is read. I want to produce the string read, R-E-A-D. Let us see the process of backtracking parser now, how it produces that string. So it begins with the first symbol, that is yes, and tries to substitute the productions of yes by comparing with the first letter. What is the first letter of the string that we want to generate? The first letter of the string that we want to generate is R. So we call this as look ahead. This is R. So any production of yes that matches with this R, the first symbol of the production must be R. will be considered. So if you look at these two productions, both the productions are starting with R only. Therefore, you can consider either this production or this production. So because this one exists first, the backtracking parser considers this RxD. Okay, so the first step is substitution of RxD for S. Okay, so the first production S implies RxD because it matches with the first symbol of the string. So we consider it. Okay, now because the first substitution is done and one match is found, the top-down parser advances to the next input letter. What is the next input letter? What is it? E. Okay, so E. And now, because R is already matched, we have to look for a production of X which starts with E, right? But backtracking parser does not have that knowledge to look that. It simply considers the first symbol, first production of the corresponding grammar. What is the first production of X? It is OA. So it considers the first production of the grammar that starts with X production, that is OA, and it substitutes OA. Immediately it identifies that OE is not matching with the second symbol. What is the second symbol expected here? The look ahead symbol is E, but the substitution of OA is producing this string ROA, and the second symbol O is not matched with the second symbol of the original string. Therefore, the backtracking parser immediately backtracks to the previous situation. That means the substitution OA is recovered again and tries to substitute the other possibilities of X. What is the other possibilities of X? It is EA. It considers EA and again performs that substitution and verifies whether the starting symbol is matching with the second symbol of the string or not. So here it is E and the second symbol is also E. Therefore it matches. So it forwards. So backtracking parser forwards its pointer to A now, and again it already substituted EA. A is matched with A, and it forwards this pointer to D. And in the first substitution itself, D is already there, so D is also matched. Therefore, the string read is generated by the grammar starting with the capital S. Therefore, the string belongs to the corresponding language. So it identifies like that. So what you need to understand is how backtracking parser works. How it is working? Initially, it is considering the first production of S. In case if this first symbol does not match with the first symbol of the string that we want to produce, again it backtracks to S and tries with another production. Okay, it tries with another production. Luckily, the first symbol that we substituted matches with the first symbol of the string to be generated. Therefore, it is okay. Then it goes to the second step. Second step substitutes OA for X and matches this O with the second symbol of the string. They are not matching. Therefore, it backtracks to its previous state, X. Okay, the previous state is X. Substitution of OA is recalled now. Okay, now it tries with another possibility of X. So it substitutes EA, which produces this corresponding string READ. Okay, so you need to understand this backtracking step. That is why it is called as a backtracking parser. And because of this backtracking and because of the lack of knowledge for the backtracking parser to identify which production is need to be selected for generating the string faster, that knowledge is not utilized or is not possible in backtracking parser. That is the biggest disadvantage of backtracking parser. Because of that, it tries all possibilities by backtracking to its previous situation. So this takes a lot of time and it consumes a lot of time complexity. Therefore, it is not efficient. Okay, so the backtracking parser is not efficient because of its backtracking operation, which consumes more time for generating the original string, right? So this is a task given for you. All of you note down this grammar. The grammar is S implies CAD and A implies AB or A. There are two variables, capital S and capital A, and four terminals, small a, small b, small c, small d. These are four terminals. And try to produce this CAD. Try to draw this. Try to draw this uh, trees that shows the working of backtracking parser for generating this string. CAD is the string that I want to generate. Okay. So all of you do this example in your own. Okay. So that's all for today. We have seen the types of parsers available, and also we have seen how one of those parsers works, the backtracking parser, the brute force parser, and we have seen the disadvantages with the backtracking parser also. And we will continue our class with the design of other parcels also, okay, when we come back to the next session. Thank you all. See you again in our next class.